What's going on, everybody? So hopefully you're having a great time playing these games. In this video, I'm going to be showing you 9 great Pokemon that you can catch early on in the game. This is for both Scarlet and Violet, so let's get right into it. The first Pokemon that we're going to start with is Eevee. This is definitely a fan favorite, so I had to start with this one. Now, despite Eevee being a bit of a rare spawn, I've come here on 2 separate occasions, and I was able to find it just fine, so I don't really think you're going to have too much of an issue. The recording that we're looking at right now is the first time that I did this. So where you want to head to is the town of Cortando, and you're going to be heading to the West Pokemon Center waypoint. It may not be in this specific spot, but this is a good area to start looking. Both times that I found this was just right outside of town. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Next on the list, we have Growlithe. So if you recently started the treasure hunt in the game, you probably don't have too many waypoints. Great place to start is the East Gate of Mesagosa. There's also the South Province Area 3 Pokemon Center, or lastly you have the Artisan Waypoint. We're going to be finding Growlithe in the rocky roads leading to Artisan. I have a marker on the map showing the general area that you're going to find this Pokemon, and if that's good enough, you can just head right over and skip over to the next Pokemon. Otherwise, let's do this together. This might be overkill, but I just want to make sure that you don't have an issue getting where you need to go. Main thing to keep in mind is that you want to stick to this path on a dirt road. So long as you do that, you're going to make it to your destination no problem. I gotta say, I'm so glad that Growlithe can be caught this early on. I heard actually from a few people before this game came out that Growlithe was a Violet exclusive. I guess that this is because of some of the demo footage that came out, and I was not happy about that at the time. But thankfully that isn't the case. Growlithe and Arcanine have the Intimidate passive ability, which is just the icing on the cake. If you don't know what this does, at the start of a battle, this passive is going to lower the attack stat of the opposing Pokemon. There's also not too many Fire-type Pokemon to choose from in the early hours of Scarlet and Violet, so getting this one early on is definitely a win. We are also going to be pretty close to the Grass Gym, so if you don't have Fuecoco, after catching this, you can go ahead and crush that gym leader. You can also take on one of the Path of Legends storylines. This is going to be really close to where we are, so you can tackle both of them at the same time, or just one. Whatever you want to do, really. It's really cool to see just how many really great Pokemon that you can find early on in the game. This area is filled with tons of Pokemon as well, so if you're trying to catch them all, this is going to be a place that you want to spend a little bit of time. We're making our way over. I know this has taken a little while, but again, I just want to make sure that you actually catch this Pokemon. You don't have any issues. Sometimes it's tricky when you just see like a waypoint because you're trying to look at a picture and then find that specific place, so I just thought it might be easier if I could actually just walk you through where you need to go. Well, this is where we currently are on the map, so just to give you an idea on how far we went. You can also continue your search by just heading up this path. If you just explore long enough, you're bound to run into one. Alright, now that that's done, let's move on to the next one. The next Pokemon that we're catching today is Houndoor. And we're starting at the lighthouse where you met Arvid for the first time. So we're going to be making our way back to the cave where you fed your legendary the magic sandwich that gave it all of its power back. You will need Koraidon or Miraidon for this. I remember I tried to go back to the cliff after escaping the first time, but you get a message saying that it's too dangerous and it won't let you drop down there. Now all you gotta do is just drop down this hill, and I definitely did it in a really weird way. I guess I was kinda used to Arceus and I thought that I would get fall damage or something. It's stupid, I know. I'm just kinda curious what was in that sandwich because apparently mine aren't good enough. Koraidon still doesn't want to battle. So all you need to do is just head inside and make your way through the cave. They aren't really too far in. And I'm being honest, I wish you could have caught this the first time, but there's not much you can really do about that. Alright, now that that's done, let's move on to the next one. Next on the list, we have Fidough. When you're leaving the lighthouse and you're heading over towards Los Platos, just on the outskirts of town, you're going to find this Pokemon. Fidough is a Fairy-type Pokemon and is great to add to your team, especially if you're going to be facing off against Dragon-type Pokemon. He also looks like a big pile of dough, so that helps too. There is a fair bit of them, but depending on what you're doing, you may or may not miss out on this one. This one's really easy to find. You can actually get this early on as well. Alright, now that that's done, let's move on to the next one. Next on the list, we have Mareep. So this is a good electric type Pokemon that you can get pretty early on. I think this is probably the easiest one that you can catch, and chances are you probably already discovered this one, but depending on the path you picked, you might have missed it, so. You can just head right over to the Mesagosa West Gate, and almost immediately you can see that I spot a ton of them, so definitely an easy Pokemon to catch. Next one on the list is Starly. I put this one next to Mareep just because they're in the same location basically, so if you're in the process of getting Mareep, you can always get this one at the same time. So you're going to be starting at the Mesagosa West Gate. I saw some earlier in this particular location, but it doesn't look like it's there, so I'm just going to make my way over to the next spot. and you can already see that there is a Starly on the map. Alright, now that that's done, let's move on to the next one. Next on the list we have Fletchling. This is by far the earliest Pokemon that you can catch from this list. When you're starting out and you're leaving Nemona's house, you can just head on the path that she's going to be guiding you to anyways. And this is the area where you encounter the Lechonk. But if you keep heading up this path, there's going to be a flock of these Pokemon. Now again, it may not be in this specific spot, but this general area is where you're going to find them. So what's great about this Pokemon is that it's not only flying, but it also has fire abilities. Alright, there you have it. Now this video wouldn't be complete if we didn't cover Pichu. This is again another Pokemon that you can get super early, even before you get either Miraidon or Koraidon. So where you're going to find this is in between Los Platos Pokemon Center waypoint and then the waypoint just outside of the city. So just right in between these two is going to be the place that you're going to want to start. One of the main things that makes this Pokemon so difficult to catch is just how tiny it is. You're going to see in a little bit that it's not even taller than the grass, so you're going to have to really pay attention to this and take your time when you're looking for it. There's also not a lot of them from what I've seen. They may be in other locations, but this is the first one that I found. And I actually totally missed this the first time I went through this. It wasn't until I came back at a later time and I was exploring to try to see if I missed any Pokemon. And I was lucky enough to see this, but just barely. And lastly, we have Gastly. First thing that you're going to do is make your way over to Los Platos East. And you can see Mesagoza right there, and then you're just going to head over to this little area here, and you can see just barely on the map little ruins there. So I'm just going to put a marker on there, and hopefully you can follow along. So we're just going to head over to Los Platos, and we're going to begin our journey there. Okay, so we're sort of heading in the direction of the lighthouse. As you turn around, you should be able to see it vaguely in the distance. Gastly is definitely one of my favorite Pokemon, so I'm really happy that this is one that you can get so early on in the game. I'm going to do my best to avoid any encounters. I feel like that would be a little bit of a pain in the ass if you had to sit through and watch me do a bunch of battles just before actually getting to the Pokemon. This is definitely a trip that you can make on foot, but I do recommend having either Koraidon or Miraidon, depending on the version that you pick. It's just going to make your life a whole lot easier. Now, I haven't started any of the story paths yet, but I'm kind of curious, which story path did you start with? I was thinking about doing Starfall Street, just because I really am curious to see how Team Star is going to be. I like so far the way that they were introduced into the game. With all these options, I find that it's kind of difficult to pick out what you want to do first, you know, especially in a world that's so big like this one. There's also a Drowsy, so bonus points there. And you're going to want to make your way around the ruins until you find Gastly. Okay, perfect, there he is. Alrighty everybody, that's going to cut it for this video. But I'd love to hear what your favorite Pokemon are in this game. Let me know in the comment section below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, I'll see you in the next one.